The latest news, updates, and more from the world of health and medicine. This is Medical Minutes with Wish TV's medical reporter, Dr. Mary Gillis.
From Wish TV, I'm medical reporter Dr. Mary Gillis, and this is Medical Minutes on the All Indiana Podcast Network. The nation is into year 3 of the pandemic. Needless to say, we are over it and want to get over it. So how do we stay strong until we reach the finish line? In this week's episode, I speak with Kimball Richardson, licensed mental health counselor at Community Health Network, who provides tips on how to hold on until the pandemic is in the past, which Dr. Anthony Fauci said could be as soon as spring. Our conversation is next. As always, Kimball, great to see you. So I'm going to say, all right, it's called pandemic fatigue, right? We're going into year 3 here. I just want to call it like it is. We're so over it. Which sounds kind of flippant in a way because of considering how much has happened, but people who are just had enough. How do we, Dr. Fauci sort of is predicting springtime. Dr. Jerome Adams here also, said around that time frame that we should be have our sort of freedom back in the way in which the world will now operate with this as an endemic. So what would your message be to people who just are over this, and your message to just hold on a bit more? We've gone this long.
Yeah. Well, I would say I understand people wanting to be over it and get over it. It makes a lot of sense. If we go back to March 2020 and think about how suddenly, how forcefully we were asked to pivot and change our lives. And we had to be so vigilant about everything. That takes so much focus and energy. And of course, it makes us tired physically and mentally. So it's understandable.
Well, I remember us talking about at one point, sort of the transition was so abrupt. Suddenly people were at home. Suddenly people couldn't go anywhere. Suddenly we were wearing masks. So I just, that sort of, I was just sort of thinking, I'm kind of thinking out loud here in terms of what you had just mentioned in terms of what we had gone through, about how exhausting that has been. And people are at like put, and out of gas.
Can I make a comment about that? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
What happens when we are asked to pivot so quickly is many people became very task oriented. We had a goal, we had a focus, we were told kind of what to do, and we did it. And we did it, and we did it, and did it. And what happens then is, even though those skills were going very well for many of us, what we also did was we had to put emotions on the back burner. And what I mean by that is we couldn't focus so much on our emotions, or we would have just been totally overwhelmed and falling apart. So in order to get going initially, we kind of had to pull the reins back on emotions. And then guess what they do ultimately and eventually? They come knocking at the door and say, we're ready and we're tired and you need to pay attention to us, right? And that often happens at, ironically, inopportunistic times. When things seem to like, okay, I'm settling in just a little bit more. It seems like things are calming down a little bit more. Why is it now that I'm feeling emotionally overwhelmed or like I'm over it, things like that. And that's often the case that, guess what we have to deal with now? The emotional effects of what we've been through the last couple of years.
That is so interesting, right? We were just told what to do, and really, no one can really tell you what to feel. Right. Those being put on the back burner for so long, it's sort of like this sort of rush. They're sort of been locked in a place. I'm just sort of visualizing what you're telling me. They've been sort of locked in a box,
right? And
now they're sort of like banging at the box to come out.
It's not a bad thing necessarily. If you're going through a crisis or at a very, very intense situation, it's probably okay to have a safe place to put your emotions, so that you can get through that time. But at some point, we come back and take care of ourselves in an emotional way. And sometimes people are like, well, I'm over that part too. Well, guess what? your feelings are your feelings, and they're still there, and they're still waiting to be dealt with and attended to.
Well, it's interesting you say that it comes at like an inopportune time, that they come in that you can't really control, like whether these are sort of trying to start to creep out again. And I like the point that you just made in terms of, right, it's necessary sometimes, and it's not necessarily damaging, right? We have to do things that are going to protect ourselves, and in terms of that way. I guess I was thinking, oh gosh.
You okay if I make a comment?
Go ahead. You can. I am here for you. Okay. So you go ahead. Okay.
Interestingly, there has been some research done at the Uniformed Services University, which is part of, helps to educate our military professionals on the issue of optimism. And what does being an optimistic person do for you? So optimism, they found, is not necessarily someone where the glass is half full, versus half empty, but more so someone who concentrates on where do I have control, and in what areas do I have control in my life. So for example, do I have any control over when the pandemic ends? No. But do I have control over how I handle it? Do I continue to wear a mask or not? Do I get vaccinated? Do I continue my safe and vigilant practices? Those things you do have control over. And people tend to be healthier and live longer, all those kinds of things with more of an optimistic attitude.
I love how that optimistic, that definition of that you give of optimistic, right? Because the thing is, I think we have more control in general. I don't make a sweeping statement that we think we have more control over things. We really don't, right? We don't have control over the pandemic. We don't have control over restrictions and sort of certain requirements that we need to follow at our jobs or wherever. So let's, if you could, I would say, okay, one recommendation from what I'm following is, maybe write a list of what you have control over and what you don't have control over, and then take a look in terms of the pandemic. So would that be something helpful for someone who is about to just implode?
It would be helpful.
I'm being dramatic.
Yes.
Dramatic, but anyway.
That's right.
Go ahead.
That's right. If you're feeling so overwhelmed, sometimes we really just have to rein things back to moment by moment. How can I get through the next 5 minutes? How can I get through the next 15 minutes? So you break down time so it's not so overwhelming. But when you do have a little bit more space and comfort level, I think making lists of things that you do have control over are absolutely a good idea. You might also ask yourself, why did I originally stay safe? What was my was my driving factor? And maybe you put a picture of somebody you love on your rear view mirror or on your desk or something, and just remind yourself periodically throughout the day, this is why I'm staying safe, and I'm going to hang in there and wait this out.
So from what I'm hearing, I love this sort of writing down what you have control over and what you do not have control over. And I think not having control over might give someone a sense of freedom. I mean, why worry about it, or why kind of, I don't know, this is something different. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. But second thing is, June seems so far away. Oh my gosh, moment by moment. Okay, how am I going to get through this next even 24 hours or maybe even less? This, like you said, 5 minutes. And then the third thing, what I'm hearing is that what kept me safe. Let's go back to what kept me safe. So
right.
Those three things. What was
my inspiration?
What kept me safe and what was my inspiration? Right.
And pardon me. The issue about knowing where you have control in your life, there's a philosophy, if you will, or a concept in psychology called locus of control. And it is, do you have an external locus of control, which means you think other factors outside of you are deciding your fate, if you will, or do you have more of, it doesn't have to be 100%, but do you have more of an internal locus of control, which is someone who believes the things that I think and I do, I have some control over me. So somebody who says, well, it was just all fate and there's nothing I can do about it. Okay, well, there you go. You don't have a lot of control over that. Versus someone who says, I can decide some things for myself and I do have some control over my behavior and my thoughts. That's a person who generally does two things. You can accept your things that you do well, but you can also accept that you have faults and that you're human and you have some grace for yourself too.
Wow. Right. I mean, and that's so we want sort of that balance of like what understanding what we do not have control over, and it's and then what we do have control over, and that is the concept that you're talking about, and it's locus of control. That's what we're talking about.
Locus of control.
Okay, and is that I love that term, and so maybe
isn't it nice?
Yeah,
sounds quite fancy. You can use it at a cocktail party, whatever you need to do.
Locus of control. I have a balanced locus of control, guys. Yeah.
You know what? Oh my God, I just thought, would that be an awesome name for a band?
Yes.
Stop
yes.
it.
No. Do you play?
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm a musician?
I did know that. You told me that once. Wait, so what is it that you play again, or what?
I'm a drummer.
Okay. Anyway,
oh
my gosh. But you guys already have but you know what? Hey, it can apply to many things. Broader conversation, but this is or sort of in sort of a broader context in terms of the world and how we live. But gosh, that is so interesting. So what do you
Let me tell you also, I'm sorry, Mary, but let me just mention also that when you start breaking time down and focusing on things that you personally have control over, you start to have gratitude. And you are thankful for things that are okay and that are good right here in the moment. And sometimes that's all we have is what's right here and right now. And when we can get through those moments, the other times throughout the day don't seem overwhelming. It's not that they poof magically disappear, but we can cope with them a lot better.
Wow. So we want to say, if it's possible, to come to a sense of a healthy locus of control, and then we'll be able to kind of get there because we will get there.
We will. And it's important to continue to maintain vigilance. I totally understand being tired and letting your guard down. But again, have that inspirational quote or picture or something that reminds you of why is it that I'm staying safe and for whom and what were my original inspirational thoughts about that.
Oh my gosh, Kimball, always so nice to talk to you, really. I mean, I always enjoy our conversations.
This has been Medical Minutes from Wish TV. I'm medical reporter Dr. Mary Gillis. Be sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast and check out new updates every week. You can also learn more at wishtv.com and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook.
Learn more and get more with Wish TV. Online at wishtv.com and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook. Be sure to check out more great podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.